former Rams head coach Mike Martz, known for his offensive innovation, with his thoughts on how the Browns should handle the Kevin Stefanski situation in the offseason.
I think the logic behind it is pretty clear. I mean, there's no question he's a very good coach, and to find a guy like him, who you can replace him with, is better. You need to look at that part of it too. So you're taking a chance on any young coach, and he's very good. He's a very, very solid coach. He's the intimate details of the game. His staff, they coach, they do a good job. But I think they've had some major personnel issues that's affected them, and I think they're coming out the backside of this. So it just wouldn't make sense to me to make a change, just as they're starting to see some sunshine here, the chance of getting this thing going again.
With that, let's welcome in Jimmy Watkins. He's a columnist for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. So, Jimmy, I know after the Titans game, and I'm sure you hear it because we hear plenty of it, fan base wants change. I know you wrote an article with a couple of things that happened and your thoughts with Kevin Stefanski as the head coach.
So I'm team. I understand why I think they will fire Kevin. I think they have reasons to do that. Should is a different question. I do think. Let's start here. Let's acknowledge the grievances. Okay, I think Kevin Stefanski's two biggest failures as a coach the last 2 years, while of course colored by being hamstrung in personnel, the Deshaun Watson performance, the Deshaun Watson contract, the Deshaun Watson picks that went out. That's all showing up. But it's this year in particular, it's the small things showing up repeatedly. It's not the number of games you're losing, it's how you're losing those games, right? It's the two penalties at the end of the game against the Jets, inexcusable. The myriad of special teams mistakes against the 49ers dropping punts, covering punts, fielding kickoffs, and costing yourself 30 yards of field position. Those things just keep happening and happen again. This is, and of course, everyone wants the 2-point play. That's the thing that connects back most directly to Kevin because he has a big hand in offense, and everyone's thinking that this offensive guru is taking his quarterback with 360 passing yards off the field for the most important play of the game. What kind of offensive guru makes that decision? And then when you ask him about the decision, he doesn't give you clear answers. That's been his MO since the beginning. I think that's a fine MO if you're winning games. I think if you're losing games, your non-answers sound like the answers you give when you don't have the answers to the question. Is that fair? I don't know. But it's the way that people think. So we're airing the grievances. I understand. I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to change coaches. 8 teams over the past 3 seasons now, but dating back to 2023, have lost double-digit games in consecutive seasons. The Browns just became the 9th. The first 8 all changed coaches during that time. The NFL tells you that that's coming, and I think you have legitimate arguments to make as to why Kevin hasn't done a good enough job this year and last. Yeah. That being said, I think Mike Martz does have a point there. I'm sorry. He does have a point there. Who do you replace him with? Let's play the resume game. I think I'd probably want someone with some head coaching experience. I think I'd want someone who has experience getting the most out of quarterbacks. And I think I want someone, if they've got a Coach of the Year award, not forget 1 Coach of the Year award on their resume, man, that'd be great. Well, that's Kevin Stefanski. I don't know if any other coach with that resume is coming on down, given the history of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I guess I understand people who want Kevin Stefanski fired. You can't defend what is 6 wins in 2 years. The other thing I would say, the offense has been horrible. Now, there are reasons for it. He's an offensive coach. The offense has been horrible the last 2 years. So my theory is this. If Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry both survive, I think we know for certain that it was Jimmy Haslam that was driving the bus for the Deshaun Watson trade. That's the only way that would make sense.
It would be an admission of guilt from ownership. Absolutely. I wrote this a couple of weeks ago. We're going to know. We're going to know who called the shots on Deshaun Watson by the end of this season, because to your point about Kevin, you're right. There's a lot of context in how bad the Browns have been on offense the last 2 seasons. Deshaun Watson was bad at football last year. The supporting cast around him was not very good. This season, you're rolling out 2 rookies and a 40-year-old. and you're asking them to play behind a shaky offensive line that's dealing with a ton of injuries and receivers who have been near the top of the league in drops for most of the season, and who in some of the more advanced metrics are slower and less open than a lot of the receivers. The NFL is not a recipe for success. That context is all valid. Also valid, context gets drowned out when you're losing a bunch of games. And at the end of the day, it is just your job as a coach to do better with what you have. Kevin Stefanski won those 2 Coach of the Year awards because he was doing more with less. Is it fair to keep asking someone to make the most out of a bad quarterback situation and a bad offensive line situation and receiver situation? Again, we can debate that, but we can't debate that the NFL is a bottom line business, and every other coach in these shoes is going to be in trouble. You win 6 games in 2 years, most of the time you get fired. That's a very digestible explanation, defensible explanation. If the Browns end up getting rid of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, that's a digestible explanation. I think we can all get behind that. And by the way, yes, Andrew Berry has put together a great draft class this year, but it is one draft class. There are some bad draft picks to counteract some of these other good ones. And by the way, he also if we accept the fact that it was his decision entirely or mostly, he also authored the worst transaction in the history of modern sports, basically. So it's one draft class. It's one bad decision with the Deshaun Watson trade. It's also only one draft class to counteract it. And we have evidence before that suggests, well, he's not going to bat 1,000 on these draft picks.